you try to convince somebody that they family, and then you treat them like they not afterwards, that's some bullshit. Rockstar Games. I said, oh, shit.
Rockstar Games has teamed up with some of the biggest names in entertainment to craft their legendary stories, but not every collaboration has ended on a high note, including those infamous clashes where Rockstar did not hold back, even in some circumstances almost getting into literal fights in the studio. So let's start off with young Maylay, aka CJ from GTA San Andreas, in a series of now deleted bizarre Instagram posts. It seems something pushed Maylay over the edge, leading to him publicly criticising Rockstar. To kill the rumours, I'm not involved in GTA 6 at all. Rockstar Games, period. CJ will have to be voiced by another motherfucker, but not me. I don't give a fuck what you heard. I was gonna beat the shit out of that dude that played Niko Bellic for talking down on Rockstar Games, but for what? He exposed the truth. I'll never work with Rockstar Games again unless I get a few million in the pocket. I never publicly dissed them because I made money with them, but they don't care if I'm eating or not. No disrespect to Dan Houser at all, but Rockstar Games can eat a base head stick. They're culture vultures from London, making billions off of others' culture, and I don't even see 10% of that. It seems that Maylay was particularly upset about his compensation for voicing CJ, especially considering that San Andreas became the best-selling PlayStation 2 game of all time, selling 17.3 million copies. His claims of Rockstar being culture vultures suggest that he was accusing them of trend hopping and feeding off popular culture to make their games more popular without properly recognising or rewarding the contributions of those who helped shape that culture. I wonder what Maylay's stance is nowadays on the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. Did he actually get any money for that project? So what made Maylay suddenly explode out of nowhere about Rockstar? Well, it's believed that the reason was the constant barrage of messages and harassment from fans asking him about his potential involvement with Rockstar as a returning character in GTA 6, or in GTA Online as a DLC character. It does appear that Maylay may have somewhat overcome his animosity towards Rockstar, because in a recent interview he seemed pretty happy discussing how he got the job and what the process was like doing voice actor work for them.
I read, they had us reading the script from Minister Society. When he was jacking dude in the drive-thru.
Oh yeah, the burger scene.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm on there doing my thing, and he said, dude, like, you know, you're really good. You had me like actually scared. You know?
The situation must have been a bit awkward for Sean Fontino, who voiced Franklin in GTA 5, because in case you didn't know, they're actually cousins in real life. And they actually went onto an Instagram live together to clear up some of the, shall we say, fiery air.
I'm like this, to be honest, them motherfuckers ain't gotta never do shit for me again. The thing of it was this, I just feel a certain type of way. If I make $1 billion, if I make $1 million with a motherfucker, man, I'm gonna try to make sure they cool. When you try to convince somebody that they family, and then you treat them like they not afterwards, that's some bullshit. Let me stop you. When I woke up in the morning, I shit in different languages. Stupid, yo, Maylay, Rockstar Games. I said, oh shit.
Yeah. You didn't mean that.
Hey, homie, I didn't around with that shit like that, bro.
But what about when Rockstar voice actors get heated in the booth and even threaten lead creatives working on the game, forcing them to nearly be cut from the project altogether? Well, for that we need to move on to our next actor and travel back in time to GTA Vice City. Known for his rugged charm and charismatic screen presence, Burt Reynolds became a major star in the 1970s and 1980s, with a career spanning over 5 decades. In 2002, Burt Reynolds lent his voice and likeness to GTA Vice City as one of the main actors for Avery Carrington, a wealthy and influential real estate tycoon known for his flamboyant and ambitious nature. But not all was well behind the scenes at Rockstar when Burt was working on the game in the booth. In fact, the dispute between Reynolds and Rockstar's very own co-founder Dan Houser is what almost drove Rockstar to stop working with A-list celebrities altogether. Thanks to an interview with developers Jamie King and Navid Khonsari, when it came to the recording session, it was detailed that Reynolds showed up ready to work and be treated like a star. Khonsari could see the disdain in his eyes, the attitude so many other actors copped about the medium. They look at you like, who the f*** are you? You're game guys. Khonsari had no qualms about putting actors into their place. If you want me to break it down to you, he'd say, those games gross over $500 million, more than all of your movies put together. Yet with Reynolds, he lost his nerve. Khonsari recalled how after Reynolds cut his scene, Dan asked politely for another take. Can you say the line again, please? Reynolds stared him down and muttered, say that again? Can you do the line again? Dan repeated. You know, you need to give people an attaboy, said Reynolds. Dan was obviously quite confused by this. Reynolds replies, yeah, people do something good, you have to give them an attaboy. Khonsari and Dan shifted uncomfortably, having no clue what Reynolds was talking about at first. Then realised he wanted a bit of acclaim before he did anything again. But Khonsari thought that Reynolds' attitude only got worse. The studio grew hot, so Reynolds was sweating through his clothes. Unbeknownst to Reynolds, his manager had gone out to go and buy him a new dry shirt. When the shirt arrived, Dan Houser innocently approached Reynolds and said, oh, your shirt's here. Reynolds didn't know the shirt was coming and must have thought that Dan was insulting him for being sopping wet. That's where Reynolds replied, there's gonna be 2 hits here, me hitting you and you hitting the floor. Dan understandably flipped, ready to cut Reynolds out of the game entirely, but Khonsari intervened saying, look, we've got the performance. He's a total cock, but let's move on. Ironically, Rockstar seemed to have the last laugh in this situation, as a few years later Avery Carrington made a return in GTA Liberty City Stories, only to be killed off in a mission where he dies pretty embarrassingly and without putting up a fight. And it seems Avery Carrington wasn't the only one who potentially could have been axed altogether from the GTA universe. We all know the beloved Tommy Vercetti, but recording with the talented actor Ray Liotta who voiced him was far from easy. In an interview with Vulture, Houser detailed a little further on the tensions with Ray Liotta during the game's development. I don't want to speak ill on the dead, the poor bugger, but we don't bring in named actors anymore because of their egos, and most important of all, because we believe we get a better sense of immersion using talented actors whose voices you don't recognize. Now, what Houser is clearly hinting here is that due to Ray Liotta's ego during the development of the game, it gave them some serious doubts about using Hollywood celebrities ever again. Thanks to the same employee who detailed things about Burt Reynolds, we also know some further details about Ray's attitude. It all started when Houser and some colleagues were sitting at Peter Luger's steakhouse in Brooklyn, with Ray Liotta himself, likely discussing his potential role for the game to establish whether he was interested or not. They were drinking and laughing about how much they loved his films. Then suddenly, Liotta went cold for no reason, staring them down. Why the fuck are you laughing? He snapped. The guys gulped, and Liotta cracked up. I'm just fucking with you, he said. Well, this was clearly a clever joke because Liotta starred in Goodfellas, where a very similar scene occurs in the movie. So was Ray just playing a prank on Rockstar? It all seemed to go down well as they all laughed it off in the end. However, it might not all have been a joke after all. Khonsari later recalled after taping the voiceover session, Liotta limped in, bitterly sore after a basketball game. The last fucking video game I played was Pong. Khonsari got him a big cup of Starbucks and he calmed down and got into the part of it. It sounds like he certainly wasn't the most enthusiastic about doing the game. Maybe he was just uneducated about the success of GTA 3, but it appears that after the release of Vice City, Ray Liotta was very unhappy with how much money he received. It seems that Ray Liotta was completely disregarding the popularity of Grand Theft Auto and felt like working on a video game was well below him and it was all a load of crap. And Ray seems to be repeating this in many of his interviews, where he completely shrugs the game off as just, another game.
Yeah? They asked me and I didn't know anything about it. I'm not a gamer. I've never even played Grand Theft Auto. I have no idea. I know what the object is because I kept saying, get the fuck out of the car. Yeah. Get the hell out. And all I do is curse and call people whores, and it's just brutal.
Classic game.
I had no idea. I'm not a game player. I was never a Pac-Man guy when that first game came out. I was never into that stuff at all. This was like, it's just like it sold like 8 million units. It's like a $400 million movie. It's like,
oh, it's huge. Yeah, it's like you're in a huge hit movie.
Huge, huge. And it was fun. You know, you're just sitting there cursing at people. You know, it was fun to do.
Like, that's fun. You just went to a booth and cursed at people for.
But when asked, Sam Houser had something very interesting to say about Ray's comments in an interview now deleted from Edge magazine. Sam Houser is quoted as saying, "I think Liotta did get it, to be fair, but he made some comments later on through his agent, like, hey, that game was so big, I should have charged them more money. And I hate that kind of chat. It's like, be cool, you know? I hate that, it's so cheesy." He's saying, next time I'm really gonna pin it to them. Well, how about we just kill off your character? So he doesn't exist, there is no next time. And that's how we handle that. It sounds like Rockstar here are openly admitting that they're going to give Tommy Vercetti the good old Avery Carrington treatment. It's kind of sad to hear how things ended up this way, but at the end of the day, I think Sam's pretty spot on here with his conclusion. But Ray Liotta wouldn't be the only main protagonist voice actor who went on to dispute with Rockstar Games over pay. We already mentioned young Maylay, but also Michael Hollick, the voice actor of Niko Bellic, also had issues with how much money he received once he realized how much money the game actually generated.
I keep doing these favors for you and you pay shit!
Michael Hollick reportedly worked about 15 months on GTA 4, performing both voice acting and motion capture, but initially was only hired to do the motion capture. It's reported that Hollick was only paid approximately $100,000 for his work, where you can understand why he was pretty angry to find out the game made $500 million in its first week, with total sales surpassing 25 million copies worldwide. In a 2008 interview with the New York Times, he stated that obviously I'm incredibly thankful to Rockstar for the opportunity to be part of this game when I was just a nobody, an unknown actor trying to make a living in New York City. But it's tough when you see GTA 4 generating something like $500 million in its first week. To not feel like you're taken advantage of is incredibly difficult. He also noted that his frustration and confusion were purely at the management of all the money. It's not really about Niko versus Rockstar, or should we say Michael versus Rockstar. It's about the industry as a whole. I personally feel like Rockstar Games could have taken their initiative and paid him more money for the game, or at least given him royalties. But at the time, the Actors Union didn't really have anything in place to cover actors in this kind of scenario. But you don't even need to work on the games to feud with Rockstar, as it would seem, as these two celebrities have shown very clearly over the last decade. First of all, we have Lindsay Lohan, where in 2014, Lindsay Lohan initiated a high-profile legal battle against Rockstar Games, the developer of GTA 5, and the feud centered around Lohan's claim that the game's developers had used her likeness without permission, specifically in GTA 5, not only for the cover art, but also for a character that appears during a mission named Lacey Jonas. She's portrayed as a famous actress hounded by paparazzi who seeks the player's help to escape. Lohan contended that this character's persona, voice and appearance were modelled straight after her, including her clothing style, hairstyle and signature peace pose. However, in 2018, New York's highest court ruled against Lohan, concluding that Rockstar's depiction of Lacey Jonas was not identifiable specifically as her. But what about GTA 6? I'm sure you've all seen the trailer by now, and perhaps then you are pretty well aware of a figure within the community who's an influencer known as the Florida Joker, who believes that his likeness was copied straight out of GTA 6. In 2023, Randall S. Newton, also known as the Florida Joker, publicly claimed that Rockstar Games used his likeness for a character. Known for his distinctive tattoos and appearance similar to the Joker from Batman, he alleged that the character in the game closely resembled him in both appearance and criminal behaviour. However, as of now, there has been no formal lawsuit or court case filed by Newton against Rockstar Games. But that doesn't mean there aren't some very entertaining social media posts from the Florida Joker threatening Rockstar Games to give him more money.
GTA, we gotta talk. Take two, we gotta talk. I'm really not trying to sue y'all, so I'm gonna give y'all extra month. hit me up. Let me voice the character. Let me voice the character. Give me more storyline in the game, and give me a few mil. Give me a royalty deal off of it. Let's make history happen, man.
You know, I kind of hope for his sake he actually gets a role in the game and gets to voice the character, because deep down he seems like a pretty decent guy.